Hello everyone and welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we are reviewing Scream 7, directed by Kevin Williamson, starring Neve Campbell, Courtney Cox, Isabel May, Joel McHale, Jasmin Savoy Brown, Mason Gooding, and many others rounding out this ensemble cast. This movie follows yet another new Ghostface killer coming after Sidney and her new family, her daughter Tatum in particular. And of course I'll be getting to spoilers for Scream 7, so if you haven't had a chance to watch it just yet, go watch it if you must, but if you're here boycotting the film, well, I watched it so you don't have to.
Hello?
Hello, Sidney. Did you miss me?
So the first thing I need to talk about is the elephant in the room, and that is, of course, the unceremonious firing of Melissa Barrera and the subsequent departures from co-star Jenna Ortega and the original slated director Christopher Landon. And I bring this up not to pile on hate to Paramount for their absurd decision to let go of their lead actress for ridiculous reasons, although I mean, it's kind of hard not to, but rather the fallout from the creative team leaving this film led to expensive rewrites and a complete overhaul of this movie. And when you have production issues at this scale, it's rare to not feel those issues translated onto the screen. To Kevin Williamson's credit, which this is only the second movie he's ever directed, this does feel like it's directed well enough. It feels in step stylistically and has the high production qualities as the past few Scream movies. And the cast that does return are all playing their characters to the best of their abilities given the script they have to work with. And that's really what keeps this movie from being a complete failure in my eyes. Neve Campbell returns as Sidney Sidney Evans in this film, with Joel McHale playing her husband and Isabel May playing her daughter Tatum. And the family dynamic here worked for the most part, albeit it is exactly the type of legacy sequel tropes that Scream 5 made fun of.
But you can't just do a straight sequel either. You gotta build something new, but not too new, or the internet goes bug fucking nuts. It's gotta be part of an ongoing storyline, even if the story shouldn't have been ongoing in the first place.
The film decides to go the opposite direction as the Halloween movies before them. Rather than Sidney fervently preparing her daughter to face off against a future Ghostface threat, she isolates her and tries her best to separate her past life with the new one that she wishes for her daughter. And this makes sense to me. I like the idea of Sidney's daughter having to learn about her mother's life through the Stab movies, through reading her book, and through the tabloid magazine articles because her mother just won't talk to her about her past. I thought this setup was a fairly good conflict between these characters with a clear arc for Tatum to eventually learn to be a fighter like her mother. You also have Joel McHale as Sidney's husband Mark, who is a cop inside of this film. There is a great sequence, probably my favorite in the movie, where Ghostface is hiding in the attic of their home, who descends upon the trio as they pack to leave town. I love the immediacy of Sidney and Mark realizing that they left Tatum alone on the other side of the home, with Ghostface holding her hostage. Their ensuing fight is as entertaining as Ghostface fights have been in the previous films, although it does lead to Sidney and Tatum hiding in the walls, with Ghostface stabbing through them towards her, which I swear they've done in another Scream movie before, like, right? It wasn't in Scream 3? Maybe I'm wrong and I've just seen this exact setup in so many other horror films, but I swear this is a complete rehash of another Scream movie. Correct me in the comments down below. The sequence eventually does lead to Ghostface in the streets in front of their home with GALE Weathers, making her grand entrance into the film by running this Ghostface over, killing him early on in the film. If the film made any directly new choices, it was this. Revealing a killer early on lets our characters get a slight insight into who the others could be, and I appreciated their attempt to changing the formula, even if just slightly. The problem was that this was just some random guy who we saw in passing earlier in the film, and our insight the characters gained from this is just a massive red herring. But hey, I gotta praise the movie for something, and I guess this is it. There were a couple of fun kill sequences throughout the movie. I did like the one with McKenna Grace trapped in the harness. That one was probably the goriest kill I'd say throughout this entire movie, although the gore was CG. Still fun though. And then there was also oh, the bar scene was kind of fun. Okay, now onto my issues with this movie. It all really comes down to the script. Kevin Williamson wrote all the Wes Craven directed Scream movies, but has only gotten based on characters by credits in the other two Melissa Barrera-led films. Those were directed by the Radio Silence duo and written by James Vanderbilt and Guy Busick. In rewriting the film, Vanderbilt and Guy Busick got story by credits, but it is very hard to tell what was left over from them, or if the entire script was overhauled from start to finish. And the two things that stood out to me as the two most rushed and disappointing elements of this film were the opening scene and the killer reveals. The opening scene follows Michelle Randolph and my favorite film and TV doofus, Jimmy Tatro, as they rent out the Macher house as an Airbnb. There is an animatronic Ghostface that scares Randolph, and of course Tatro also dresses up as Ghostface to scare his girlfriend, who already does not want to be there. Two beats that were very obvious fake outs to make in this scenario. Then of course the real Ghostface takes the place of the animatronic one and kills Tatro in probably the second scoriest kill behind McKenna Grace. Randolph of course tries to run away and ends up hanging off the chandelier like many characters before her, and eventually falls onto Ghostface's knife. He then burns the house down and yeah, that's it. The thing about this opening scene is it's not clever or funny. The original Scream has one of my favorite opening scenes of all time. It is incredibly smart, plays very well with expectations, and establishes a wit behind the killers that, in my very controversial opinion, was lacking from the Billy and Stu reveal at the end of that film, but that's a whole other conversation that I'm not ready to get into here. I've reviewed all 6 other Scream movies. If you want to see my thoughts on all of those, you can check them out. My first Scream review is not good. It was a long time ago, and it does get off my point of why I don't like the ending of the first Scream movie, but if you want to hear my thoughts on that, go over there. The opening scene of the second film is quite funny as it spoofs the first and establishes the Stab franchise. The third is probably the worst besides this film, but at least that one does have the guts to kill an established character to try to elevate the stakes. The fourth is a completely ridiculous meta joke that I find incredibly funny. The fifth film very much pays homage to the first Scream, but with a twist in Jenna Ortega's character surviving. The sixth played with expectations by revealing the killer only for that killer to be killed by the real killer, and this one sort of establishes the AI with the robotic animatronic, which has nothing to do with the AI used in the side of the rest of the film. It's just nothing but nostalgia bait. It completely fell flat for me. And I do think that this is a consequence of the rewrites and the overall feeling of this script being rushed. Same can be said with the whole AI thing. I don't hate the fact that this movie's killer uses AI to elevate the killer's phone calls to Sidney. Hell, the third movie does pretty much the exact same thing with the voice changer tech. And although I do have similar flaws with both of these ideas, in Scream 3 the voice changer was incredibly unrealistic, especially for the year 2000. But in the year 2026, AI deepfakes are a very real thing and can be very convincing. Hell, the voice changer thing is used in real life scams today to make the olds think their grandkids are on the phone needing $3,000 in bail money sent directly to an offshore bank account. There are even AI romance scams with a woman sending thousands of dollars thinking she's helping with Brad Pitt's medical bills. This is definitely possible. But my nitpicky ass brain can't help but think that using the aged actors in this isn't really possible. I don't know, I guess you can prompt an AI to take a picture of someone and age them up 20 years and add some scarring to someone's face to try to fool Sidney into thinking that Stu Macher is still alive and is one of the killers in this film, but I kind of wish they just somehow brought Stu Macher back to life. If you're going to pull off some ridiculous retcon, go all out. And I never thought I'd say this, especially since I've told my friends who love the theories about Stu being alive from fans that I'd hate for them to bring him back in that way, but as I was watching this film, I agreed with Sidney and Gale when they joked about how Stu being alive would be the better story than it being some AI deepfake. And when the AI started to bring in cameos from other characters like Mrs. Loomis, Roman, and Dewey, it made even less sense for the characters in film to age them up 20 plus years. Honestly, it would have been a good excuse to use the uncanny de-aging tech to make them look exactly how they did when Sidney actually knew them. But honestly, nitpick aside, if it wasn't actually Stu Macher, which I'll give credit to where it's due, Matthew Lillard was extremely fun as the AI returning character, who then was the real killer, if not Stu Macher. Well, it was some random psych ward guy who lied about Stu being the John Doe inside of the psych ward, the other random killer guy inside of the psych ward, and the neighbor lady, aka the mom of the creepy kid, but not the creepy kid himself. She did end up killing her own son, which actually was probably my favorite kill inside of the movie with the beer tap. I kind of forgot about that one. That one was pretty cool. But this reveal is just awful. These characters had no screen time, so I had no real attachment to them. Their motivations were confusing, and I'm still trying to work that out myself. I get that the neighbor lady had an abusive husband, and reading Sidney's book made her, want to kill her husband and to get rid of him, to stand up for herself, but how does that translate to her wanting to kill Sidney? And how did she meet the psych ward? I guess she was crazy. She went to the psych ward, they got together, and then they wanted to kill Sidney, but why? Well, why do they have an obsession with Sidney? Their motivations were honestly so confusing, and as it has been for me for every single Scream movie, as soon as the villain starts monologuing, their performances go down the toilet and their logic out the window. But of course, I can't stop there. I can't go without talking about some of the really, really dumb plot holes I noticed throughout this script, which again point to Kevin Williamson just not having enough time to properly write a Scream script. I know he knows how to write a clever one. He's done it 4 times. The funniest of which being after the Gale and Sidney interview, which I actually thought was one of the stronger scenes inside of the film. We had Sidney running off to save her daughter who was being attacked inside of the coffee shop, but she then forgot her keys, so she couldn't get into her car, so she just starts running to her daughter. But why didn't Gale run to help her or get in her car to support her friend? She didn't know exactly where this was all going down, so if she got in her car and started driving towards the bar, she would have been able to pick up Sidney, who was again just running down the streets. But Gale just decided to no longer be in the movie. So yeah. whenever Mindy and Chad were on screen, I was absolutely delighted. I love those characters, and it made me all the more upset that we don't get to see the core four together on screen once more. I did like how Mindy's character has continued down her uncle's footsteps in becoming the horror movie rule expert and now working in the news van where Randy died all those years ago. Chad has less to do here because of the absence of Jenna Ortega, but Mason Gooding still charms his way throughout this entire film. But also, why couldn't they find the front door to the bar? I think they literally say, where in the world's the door? And then they hear a noise in the kitchen, so then they go to the kitchen where they get stabbed. And of course, then they get kicked out of the movie until the very ending, which their little bits in the credits was very funny. Again, I love seeing these characters on screen, which again makes me so much more mad that we didn't get to see the core four together. Heartbreaking. Also in the scene where Sidney, Tatum, and Mark were being attacked inside of their home, the other cops said that they were just going to secure the neighborhood, but when the fight moves outside into the front yard of the home, they are nowhere to be seen. Also with that scene, they literally confirmed that the ghost face that was hiding in the attic was the random psych ward guy as he was run over and killed inside of that same scene itself. But literally 2 minutes later, Sidney has a line that says something like, oh, I wonder if it's the boyfriend because who else could have gotten into the attic? Did Williamson literally forget what he wrote 2 pages earlier? Insane. Also, how the fuck did he get into the attic in the first place, considering that none of the camera footage showed anybody entering the home? Like, what? If you're not going to explain that, don't have the line. Also, why was there a section of their home that was completely under construction? And also the theater guy just happened to also be outside of their home during that entire sequence to create a completely pointless and unbelievable red herring. Also, that guy just sucks as the drama teacher. Why was Tatum cast as a dog in the first place? That was weird. Her boyfriend was also the most cookie cutter Scream boyfriend I've ever seen. Him leaving his laptop open with a deep fake was very dumb, but when he does finally reunite with Tatum after she smacks him in the face with the laptop, which I did find funny, he just instantly is killed. So I guess he's just gone now. There's just so much inside of this movie that felt lazy. I'm sure that I'm missing a bunch of things that I'm sure you guys will put in the comment section down below. Maybe this whole film was honestly written by AI. Honestly, it feels like that is how it is because AI does tend to put itself at the center of stories that it's told to create. So I honestly wouldn't be surprised. But anyway, I think I'm rambling on at this point. This movie is honestly fine. If you enjoyed the other films, you'll probably find something to like here. But as someone who is still bitter about the firing of Melissa Barrera, the actress who played the incredibly interesting character who I was very much looking forward to seeing how they progress her arc in growing violence in the cap to her trilogy, I left this film incredibly underwhelmed by the attempt to make me forget about her through endless recycled story beats and nostalgia.
I'm gonna burn it all down.
Mother...
But those are just going to be my thoughts on Scream 7. I am very curious to hear what your thoughts are on this film in the comment section down below. And of course, if you decide to boycott this movie, good on you. Side note, I did not pay to see this movie. I was lucky enough to see it for a free screening, so don't come at me for supporting Paramount. And of course, if you enjoyed this review, make sure to leave it a like and subscribe to the channel to see more reviews just like this one. I've also been posting a ton of shorts here on YouTube along with Instagram and TikTok, which usually go up before my full review, so make sure to follow me on both of those platforms. And for the absolute latest from me, Letterboxd will be the first place that I post my reactions to films, so definitely give me a follow on there. I've also been watching a movie every single day this year, so if you want to follow my journey in watching a movie that I haven't seen before, literally every single day for the entire year of 2026, Letterboxd is the place to follow. So thanks everybody for watching, and I hope to see you all in my next one.